The rancher buried a fallen Apache warrior. What happened the next morning left him speechless. He thought he was burying a fallen warrior like any other day on the Wild West plains, but what awaited him the next morning was something no one could have imagined. A secret that could shatter everything he believed about life, death, and justice. Witness the moment when compassion confronts the impossible, and a miracle defies the harshest rules of this unforgiving land. The sun hung low on the horizon, casting a warm golden light across the rugged landscape of the American West. Dust swirled in the air, surrendering to the gentle evening breeze that whispered through the swaying grass. It was the kind of serene moment that felt timeless, yet it was shattered by the distant echo of gunfire. A single shot rang out, piercing the tranquility, sending a flock of startled birds into the sky. A figure on horseback galloped toward the commotion, heart pounding, dust trailing in his wake. Eli Turner was a man of few words, a humble farmer who had carved out a life on the edge of the prairies. His weathered hands bore the marks of a lifetime spent tilling the unforgiving soil. He had known loss. His wife had succumbed to a fever 2 years prior, and with her, a piece of his soul was buried deep in the earth. Yet he clung to hope, tending to his land and the few animals he had left, believing in the promise of tomorrow even as shadows of despair loomed. His life was one of quiet persistence, a testament to the strength of the human spirit amidst a world that often seemed devoid of mercy. As Eli approached the source of the gunfire, he spotted a group of men, cowboys by the looks of them, surrounding a fallen figure sprawled in the dirt. A chill ran down his spine. The man on the ground wore the traditional garb of an Apache warrior, his body still, but a thin trail of blood glistened on the parched earth. The cowboys stood with their hats pulled low, their expressions revealing a mixture of triumph and indifference, as if this was just another day in the life of the Wild West. The sight ignited a fire within Eli. Without a second thought, he dismounted and strode toward the scene, his heart racing with a mix of anger and sorrow. "What have you done?" he called out, his voice steady despite the tremor of emotion beneath. The cowboys turned to him, their laughter fading into a tense silence. One of them, a burly man with a scar running down his cheek, stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "Just doing our part, farmer. This one was asking for it." Eli knelt beside the fallen warrior, the setting sun casting long shadows across his face. The Apache's features were serene, almost peaceful, despite the violence that had taken his life. Eli's heart ached for the man he had never known, yet felt an inexplicable connection to. Perhaps it was the shared humanity that transcended the divisions of race and culture, or the simple fact that this was a life extinguished too soon, a life that had fought for its place in a world that showed no mercy. "I can't leave him like this," Eli murmured to himself, the weight of the decision settling heavily on his shoulders. The cowboys exchanged glances, their amusement fading as the seriousness of the situation settled in. They had not expected resistance. "You're gonna get yourself in trouble, farmer," the scarred man warned, but Eli remained resolute. He had buried his own loved ones with dignity. This warrior deserved the same. As night fell, Eli worked tirelessly, digging a grave with nothing but a rusted shovel he had retrieved from his homestead. The stars twinkled overhead, indifferent to the struggles of man below. Each scoop of earth was a testament to his resolve, a silent prayer for the warrior whose life had been cut short. He could feel the weight of history pressing down upon him, the echoes of centuries of conflict and misunderstanding between their peoples. Yet, in that moment, all that mattered was the act of kindness he was compelled to perform. With the grave finally prepared, Eli gently lowered the body, wrapping it in a simple blanket he had carried from home. He murmured words of respect, a mixture of hope and sorrow. "You are not alone," he whispered, feeling the prick of tears in his eyes. "May you find peace." As he covered the body with earth, the weight of the world seemed to lift momentarily, replaced by a sense of purpose that coursed through his veins. But when the sun broke over the horizon the next morning, Eli awoke to a silence that felt unnatural. The air was thick with an odd stillness, as if the world itself held its breath. He climbed out of his modest cabin, stretching his arms toward the rising sun, when a glimmer caught his eye. He turned toward the grave, only to find it disturbed, the soil churned and the blanket lying in tatters beside it. Panic surged within him as he sprinted toward the site, dread pooling in his stomach. Had the cowboys returned? Had they desecrated the final resting place of the warrior he had honored? But as he approached, Eli froze in disbelief. There, before him, stood the Apache warrior, alive and whole, the very same man he had buried just hours before. His eyes burned with a fierce intensity, and Eli felt a rush of emotions: fear, confusion, awe. The warrior raised a hand, signaling for Eli to remain calm. "You honored me," he spoke, his voice deep and resonant, echoing with the weight of ancient wisdom. "In a world filled with hate, you chose compassion. You saved my spirit." Eli's heart raced, struggling to comprehend the impossibility before him. The warrior continued, "I am not here to seek vengeance for my people. I have come to offer you something in return." Eli felt the ground shift beneath him, not from fear, but from an overwhelming sense of purpose. The world he had known, where violence reigned and compassion was a rare gift, suddenly felt less suffocating. In that moment, he realized that the act of kindness he had shown was not in vain. He had crossed the chasm of division, and in doing so had awakened a bond that transcended the boundaries of culture and conflict. As dawn painted the sky with hues of pink and orange, Eli stood before the warrior, feeling the weight of the world shift. He had buried a fallen Apache warrior, and the unexpected return of life held the promise of a new beginning. The sun rose higher, illuminating the vast expanse of the prairie, and with it came the understanding that even in the harshest of worlds, compassion could ignite hope where it was least expected. Chapter 2. Chapter 2. The first rays of dawn crept over the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and pink like a canvas brushed by the hands of the gods. Eli Turner stood at the edge of the small clearing, the night's events still echoing in his mind. The air was crisp and cool, laced with the earthy scent of dew on grass. He rubbed his eyes, still incredulous at the sight that had greeted him upon waking, a sight that had felt like a dream, one filled with both wonder and unease. The Apache warrior, once lifeless beneath the soil, now stood before him, bathed in the gentle light of morning. His dark hair fell in long braids down his back, glistening like raven feathers. His skin, still glistening with the dew of the night, seemed to absorb the light rather than reflect it. Eli's heart raced, caught between disbelief and awe. "Eli Turner," the warrior spoke, his voice deep and resonant, yet soothing like the soft wind that rustled through the nearby trees. "You have given me a gift few would dare to offer. Your compassion has drawn me back from the shadows of death." Eli swallowed hard, his throat constricted with a mixture of fear and reverence. I didn't know. I thought I was just doing what was right," he stammered, his voice barely above a whisper. "You did more than what is right," the warrior replied, stepping closer. "You honored a fallen brother, a soul lost to the violence of this land, and for that I am in your debt." The words hung in the air between them, heavy with meaning. Eli had always felt the weight of the world pressing down on him, especially since his wife had passed. But this, the presence of the warrior, felt like a spark of hope igniting within the darkness that had enveloped his life. "What can I do for you?" Eli asked, his curiosity outweighing his fear. The warrior smiled, a flicker of warmth in his piercing eyes. "You have already done enough, but I offer you a choice. In return for your kindness, I can grant you knowledge, a glimpse into the world beyond this one. You will see the pain of our past and perhaps understand the struggles that bind our people." Eli straightened, feeling the weight of the warrior's gaze upon him. "I don't know if I'm worthy of such a gift. I'm just a farmer, a simple man trying to make a living." "Worthy is not determined by deeds alone, Eli. It is your heart that defines you." The warrior's voice was unwavering, his conviction palpable. "Come, let us walk. I will show you." With trepidation, Eli stepped forward, his feet crunching softly on the gravel beneath him. The sun climbed higher, casting long shadows that danced upon the earth like whispers of forgotten stories. He followed the warrior into the thicket, where the trees loomed tall and silent, their trunks weathered and wise. As they walked, the sounds of the waking world enveloped them, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a hawk, the soft murmur of a stream nearby. The beauty of the landscape was almost surreal, but Eli felt a tension hanging in the air, a thread of unease woven through the serenity. "Why did they shoot you?" Eli asked, his curiosity overcoming his caution. "What happened?" The warrior paused, his expression shifting to one of sorrow. "Misunderstanding, fear. They saw a man in a different skin, and their hearts were filled with hatred. But we are all connected beneath the surface." Eli nodded, his heart heavy with the weight of those words. He thought of his own life, how loss had shaped him, how fear had often dictated his choices. "I know something of loss," he confessed, his voice barely audible. "I lost my wife to sickness last year. I still feel her absence, like a wound that won't heal." The warrior turned to him, his eyes piercing yet compassionate. "Then you know the importance of honoring those who have passed, but you must also learn to let go of the pain, to embrace the lessons they leave behind." Eli felt a lump form in his throat. "How? How can I move on when the world feels so full of darkness?" "By understanding the light," the warrior replied, a serene smile gracing his lips. "Let the memories of your love guide you. Each step you take is a testament to their existence." As they walked deeper into the woods, Eli felt an odd sensation wash over him, as if the very air around them pulsed with energy. The warrior led him to a clearing, where the sunlight poured down in golden beams, illuminating patches of wildflowers that swayed gently in the breeze. "Here," the warrior said, gesturing to the vibrant blooms. "This is where life thrives, where beauty emerges from the earth, despite the scars of battle and pain." Eli knelt down, his fingers brushing against the petals, soft and delicate beneath his touch. He inhaled deeply, the fragrance filling his lungs, stirring something within him that had long been dormant. "It's beautiful," he murmured, the colors vibrant against the backdrop of a world that often felt gray. "Life and death are but two sides of the same coin," the warrior explained, his voice like a gentle breeze. "To understand one, you must embrace the other." "You have witnessed death. Now open your heart to life, to the possibilities that lie ahead." Eli looked up, meeting the warrior's gaze. "But what if I fail? What if the darkness swallows me whole?" "Darkness is a part of existence, Eli. It teaches us resilience. But you are not alone. The spirits of those who love you walk with you still." With those words, the warrior extended his hand. "Come, let us journey into the spirit world. I will guide you." Together, we will uncover the truth that lies beyond the veil." Eli hesitated, his breath quickening at the thought of what lay ahead. "I'm afraid of what I might see," he admitted, his voice trembling slightly. "Fear is a natural response, but it can also be a teacher," the warrior replied, his tone reassuring. "Trust in your heart, Eli. It has already led you to this moment." In that instant, Eli felt a surge of courage swell within him. He took a deep breath, steeling himself for what came next. He reached out, placing his hand in the warrior's, feeling the warmth radiate from his skin. As their fingers intertwined, a rush of energy coursed through Eli, igniting a spark deep within him. The world around them began to shift, colors swirling like a painting coming to life. The trees blurred, the flowers danced, and the very air felt electric. Suddenly, they were no longer in the forest, but in a vast expanse of shimmering light, where shadows and shapes flickered in and out of view. Eli gasped, his heart racing as he beheld the ethereal realm surrounding him. Wisps of smoke-like figures floated past, whispering secrets of ages long past. "This is the spirit world," the warrior said, his voice echoing in the void. "Here you will see the connections that bind us all. Open your eyes, Eli, and listen." Eli closed his eyes, focusing on the sounds surrounding him, the gentle hum of life, the soft cries of those lost yet still present. He felt their emotions, their stories, intertwining with his own. It was as if he could see the thread that connected every soul, a tapestry woven through time and experience. Images flooded his mind, visions of his wife laughing, her face radiant with joy, moments of heartache when he had felt utterly alone, the camaraderie of neighbors who had lent a hand during harvest time. Each memory was a brushstroke on the canvas of his life, vivid and poignant. "Do you see?" the warrior asked, his voice a grounding force amidst the chaos. "Life is a cycle, Eli. Each moment, each choice, ripples through the fabric of existence." Eli opened his eyes, a newfound clarity washing over him. "I understand," he whispered, his heart swelling with realization. "I can carry their love with me. I can honor their memory without being consumed by grief." The warrior nodded, his expression filled with pride. "You have taken the first step toward healing. Remember this feeling, this understanding. It is your light in the darkness." As the vibrant colors began to fade, Eli felt the pull of reality tugging at him. He grasped the warrior's hand tighter, desperate to hold on to this newfound wisdom. "Will I see you again?" he asked, a hint of sadness creeping into his voice. The warrior smiled, a blend of warmth and mystery in his gaze. "We are always connected, Eli Turner. When you honor the past and embrace the present, I will be with you, guiding you through the shadows." With a final surge of energy, Eli found himself back in the clearing, the sun now fully risen, casting a warm glow over the land. The warrior stood beside him, a silent sentinel, his presence both comforting and profound. "Now go," the warrior urged, his voice steady and reassuring. "Live your life fully. Let your heart lead you to the light, for there is much work to be done." Eli nodded, tears brimming in his eyes, feeling the weight of his experiences shifting into something lighter, something hopeful. "Thank you," he breathed, his voice filled with gratitude. As the warrior's form shimmered in the morning light, Eli felt a sense of purpose igniting within him. The journey ahead would not be easy, but he was no longer alone. With the spirit of the fallen warrior guiding him, he was ready to face whatever lay ahead, to honor the past while forging a new path in a world filled with both darkness and light. And as he stepped back towards his farm, the horizon stretched before him, alive with possibility, the promise of a new dawn shimmering in the distance. Chapter 3. Chapter 3. Eli stood beneath the vast expanse of the morning sky, its hues a soft blend of lavender and gold, much like the first light of hope breaking through the shadow of despair that had gripped him for so long. The air was crisp, tinged with the earthy scent of damp soil, remnants of last night's rain that had washed away some of the dust that hung heavily in the air, much like the weight of his sorrow. As he gazed out toward the horizon, where the sun began its ascent, Eli felt the presence of the Apache warrior beside him. The figure stood tall, a silhouette against the fiery backdrop, the morning light dancing off his features, transforming him into something ethereal. Eli could hardly believe they had traversed the spirit world together, yet the lingering sensations of that journey resonated within him, a vivid reminder of the bond they now shared. "Your heart is heavy, Eli Turner," the warrior spoke, his voice smooth like the gentle rustle of the wind through the tall grass. "What weighs upon it this day?" Eli turned to face him, the warrior's eyes shimmering with a depth that seemed to hold the wisdom of ages. "I've seen violence and death, and I buried you as a fallen brother. I thought that would be the end of it, yet here you are, alive and well," he replied, his voice a mixture of wonder and uncertainty. "What now? What am I to do with this knowledge you've shared?" The warrior smiled, a gentle curve of his lips that reminded Eli of the first blooms of spring, resilient against the chill of winter. "You have been given a gift, not merely for yourself, but for your people and mine. The pain of the past is a chain that binds us, but understanding can be the key to breaking it." Eli's brow furrowed, his thoughts racing. "But how do I share this? The cowboys, they don't see the world as we do. They only see their guns and their land, the way the world has always been for them." "Ah, yes," the warrior said, his gaze drifting toward the distant hills where the silhouette of a few cowboys could be seen. "But they are but men, shaped by their fears, just as you are shaped by your grief. The truth lies not in force, but in connection. You must show them what lies beyond the barrel of a gun." Eli felt a flicker of doubt flicker in his chest. "And how do I do that?" "I'm just a simple farmer. Every seed sown has the potential to grow into a great tree," the warrior replied, his voice resonating with a calm authority. "You have already taken the first step. You buried me not as an enemy, but as a brother. Remember that act of compassion. Use it as your guide." The sun climbed higher, illuminating the landscape, casting long shadows that danced like whispers around them. Eli inhaled deeply, feeling the warmth seep into his bones, stirring within him a burgeoning sense of purpose. "But what if they don't listen? What if they only see me as a traitor to my kind?" "Fear often masquerades as anger. When you speak from your heart, they may just hear the truth beneath their fears," the warrior encouraged, his tone imbued with an unwavering belief. "You must be brave, Eli, brave enough to stand against the tide." Eli's heart raced at the thought, the weight of his own past mingling with the urgency of the present. He had spent so long running from his grief, hiding behind the walls of his farm, but now he felt an ember of hope igniting within him. "I'll try," he said, determination threading through his voice like the first strands of dawn light breaking through the dark. "Good," the warrior replied. "Now let us return to your world. It awaits your voice." As they stepped back into the realm of the living, Eli felt a shiver of trepidation race down his spine. The familiar sights of his land greeted him, yet everything felt different, as if the air itself thrummed with possibility. The fields stretched out before him, their golden hues shimmering in the sunlight. The gentle rustle of the cornstalks, a reminder of the life he had once cherished. But the moment was fleeting, as the distant sounds of laughter and raucous shouting drew his attention. The cowboys were returning, their raucous banter carrying on the wind like an omen. Eli felt his heart quicken, the apprehension coiling tightly in his chest. "Remember, Eli," the warrior said softly, his presence a steadying force beside him. "Speak your truth. Let them see the man you are." With a deep breath, Eli walked toward the sound, each step feeling like a journey across uncharted territory. As he approached, the sight of the cowboys gathered around a campfire filled him with an unsettling mixture of anxiety and resolve. They were boisterous, their laughter ringing like gunshots in the stillness, a stark reminder of the violence that had transpired not long ago. "Look who it is!" one of the cowboys shouted, his voice dripped with mockery. "The farmer who thinks he's a hero!" Eli squared his shoulders, the warmth of the sun kissing his skin, and met their jeering gazes with unwavering resolve. "I didn't do it for glory," he said, his voice steady, though his heart raced. "I buried the Apache warrior because it was the right thing to do." Laughter erupted, but Eli pressed on, his voice rising above the din. He was a man just like us, fighting for his home, his people. We share this land, and we share a history drenched in blood and misunderstanding. But I believe we can change that. The laughter faltered, replaced by a heavy silence that hung in the air like a storm cloud. Eli could feel the weight of their gazes, a mixture of confusion and disbelief, but he refused to back down. We can carve a new path, one where we honor each other's memories instead of burying them in violence. A burly cowboy, his face weathered by the sun and shadows of a hard life, stepped forward, his eyes narrowing. "You think we'll just forget what they did to us? They're savages, Eli." "You're talking crazy." Eli's heart sank, but he drew strength from the warrior's words echoing in his mind. "I'm not asking you to forget. I'm asking you to remember differently, to see the man behind the warrior and understand that we are all part of a larger story, a story of loss, pain, and ultimately hope." Silence enveloped the group, the wind carrying Eli's words like seeds scattered on fertile ground. He could see the flicker of doubt in their eyes, a crack forming in the armor of their prejudices. The warrior stood beside him, a silent sentinel, urging him to continue. "Look at the land we share," Eli continued, his voice gaining strength. "The same sun shines on all of us. The same blood runs through our veins. We have the chance to build something better, to honor those we've lost by choosing compassion over hatred." For a long moment, the cowboys exchanged glances, their expressions shifting, uncertainty mingling with the remnants of anger. Eli felt the tension in the air, thick like the humidity before a storm, but he held his ground, trusting that his words had planted the seeds of change. Finally, the burly cowboy sighed, a deep, rumbling sound that echoed across the quiet landscape. "You're a fool, Eli, but maybe you're a fool we need," he said, a begrudging respect creeping into his tone. "This world's a mess, and it's time we start cleaning it up. Maybe it starts with listening." A murmur of agreement rippled through the group, and Eli felt a surge of relief wash over him, mingled with hope. It wouldn't be easy, and the road ahead was fraught with challenges, but in that moment he knew they had taken the first step toward understanding. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting a golden glow over the landscape, Eli felt a sense of calm settle within him. The warrior stood beside him, a quiet smile gracing his lips, the connection between them a bond forged in the fires of compassion. "Remember this day, Eli Turner," the warrior said softly. "Today marks the beginning of a new journey. You've planted the seeds of change. Now nurture them." With the promise of a new dawn on the horizon, Eli felt a renewed sense of purpose. Together, they would tend to those seeds, cultivating understanding and compassion in a world too often marked by division. And as the sun set, casting the landscape in shades of amber and crimson, Eli knew that the path ahead would be long, but it was one worth walking.